Hi there, I'm Mindy Tate, Executive Director of Franklin Tomorrow, and we're here at 222 Mallory Station Road. And for a long time, people knew that as the home of AM 950 radio. In our Front Porch Conversations this morning, we're going to talk with Tom Lawrence, who spent many years here at 222 Mallory Station Road, which is now the home of Avenida of Cool Springs. We're so excited to be here, and we're so excited that you've joined us for Front Porch Conversations with Franklin Tomorrow. Hi there, I'm Mindy Tate, Executive Director of Franklin Tomorrow, and welcome to the second episode of Front Porch Conversations with Franklin Tomorrow. We're on location today. It's a beautiful day in February. We're on location today at Avenida of Cool Springs, which is at 222 Mallory Station Road. And that address is going to be important in a minute. We hope that you're subscribing to our YouTube channel so you're notified when new episodes of Front Porch Conversations are published. But they are published on the second Thursday of the month. And we're proud to announce we're now on Spotify. So you can find Front Porch Conversations or Franklin Tomorrow on Spotify and be part of that. Just search for Franklin Tomorrow on Spotify. So our guest this morning is Tom Lawrence.
Good morning.
Good morning. The voice of Williamson County. Are you going to give us the voice this morning?
Generally you have to pay for that, Mindy, but I just open my mouth and out it rolls.
Well, that's true. So we're at Avenida of Cool Springs, 222 Mallory Station Road, but that means something completely different to you, doesn't it?
It certainly does. I'm 70, headlong going towards 71, and I guess I spent 30-something odd years here out of a 52-year career in radio, and it's slowed down, but it's still going.
So 222 Mallory Station Road was for a long time the home of WAKM AM 950, Franklin and Williamson County's hometown radio station, right?
That is right. I can recall the day when we first bought this that radio station from Tom T. Hall. When I turned off of Franklin Road, there was no red light. There was only a single lane gravel road, and it led to 222 Mallory Station Road, and then as it crossed the railroad tracks down here, it would start to curve and wind. We've been told, and what we told the fine folks from Avenida, is that it's the straightest, longest, widest road in Franklin, and as you can hear the traffic in the background, it's also one of the most used.
It is a very used shortcut to the Cool Springs area from Franklin.
Thank heavens.
Thank heavens. And behind us is the Vanderbilt Legends golf course.
Yes,
beautiful thing to look at. But if you were this high in the sky at 222 Mallory Station Road, what were you climbing?
You were climbing the 300-foot tower that stood in the field out here. I don't remember the day it went up, but I sure remember the day it came down. But we still have pieces and parts of that tower. But we'd be about a fourth, 20% up that tower.
Okay, it's high enough for me, I'm thinking.
I never climbed it in those years. Jim Hayes did. Charles Dibbrell tried.
The great newsman, the late great newsman, Charles Dibbrell. So, when did you come to WAKM? I mean, you're a Franklin native, right?
We bought it in 1982. And it went on the air in 1953. I did some time here. I was always interested in radio, and it fascinated me, and Bill Arms allowed me to sneak in the front door every now and then. But a lot of people come in. Most people didn't have to sneak in. I could sneak in.
Now, speaking of people who didn't, maybe they did sneak in, but there were some great names of country and rock and roll music who came through the doors at 222 Mallory Station Road, right?
Well, still so many of them live right here in Williamson County. But if you've ever seen the movie Coal Miner's Daughter, starring Sissy Spacek,
As Loretta Lynn.
in the starring role, and Al Gore's roommate played the part.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones played Loretta's husband. In the movie, they filmed that movie at what was WAGG, did become WAKM, because it actually happened there. Loretta Lynn brought her record in, and as people still do, in that front door at WAKM, now at 1333 West Main Street. But Loretta Lynn brought that record in. Whoever took it from her laid it aside, and she came back in 6 weeks later asking why she hadn't heard that record on the air, and there it sat in a box. That's a scene in the movie.
It is.
It actually happened there.
Wow.
And they didn't change many things. When that building was demolished to see this incredible structure constructed, it looked very much the same as it did in 1953.
So you're a Franklin native.
Yep, born and raised.
Son of Maxie and Red Lawrence.
Maxie and Red, J.T. Lawrence.
What's your earliest memory of growing up in Franklin?
Oh my goodness. I remember smells. I remember smelling the original Franklin Elementary School at 5 Points.
Where did you live?
We lived about 5 doors up on on Fifth Avenue, and we rented a house there at the time before we actually built a house in a subdivision at the end of Adams Street. But I guess the earliest memory I have is Ms. Hill teaching a voice and how to sing at Franklin Elementary School in the auditorium. There was this particular smell. A lot of it came from the cafeteria, which was in the basement. And you ever had a butter sandwich?
Yep.
We'd have butter sandwiches every now and then that smell would mix with the oil they used to polish the floors. You remember what happened to that building?
It burned.
It was a raging inferno.
And so when you talk about it at 5 Points, it sat at 5 Points where the Veterans Memorial is today.
Veterans Memorial, Archives building.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a beautiful 3-story building, basement, first floor, and second floor. The auditorium was on the second floor.
Wow.
And it was a big auditorium, or what a child would remember as big.
What do you wish that people who moved to Franklin today knew about the Franklin that you grew up in?
First of all, let me make this clear. Franklin is a much better place to live than it was then. Franklin was isolated. It was long distance to call Nashville. And
there was no interstate.
There was no interstate until 1968, 67, 68. Franklin had a race problem. Franklin's no longer isolated. Franklin no longer has a race problem, even though we could be doing better. Sounds like I'm running for something. I ain't running for nothing. Believe me, I'm running for nothing. I've got a prediction I want to leave with you about Franklin's future before we finish this. But Franklin is Franklin because of the people. According, our census now is 10 years old. The census that we're able to quote from is 10 years old. 10 years ago in the 2010 census, 4% of the people who lived here were from here. That was in 2010. It's bound to be less than that by now. The people who bought our radio station, primarily, they didn't buy the radio station, they bought the land it was on. California folks, wonderful people. And I can look into this camera and tell you, when the folks at Avenida tell you something, they mean it and they do it. But now we find Californians everywhere. We find New Yorkers, we find Chinese, we find Russian, we find Hispanic speaking people everywhere.
Southeast Asian, Indians.
Yes, very much so.
Very much so.
Franklin is a much better place to live in 2021.
Now, so this is called Front Porch Conversations,
Yep.
and we're talking to people who've lived here all their lives and people who haven't. You're known as the voice of Williamson County, but people want to hear your voice around the world, and you've done other things. Tell us a little bit about what brings you back to Franklin and why this is home.
In my role on the radio, I guess you would do things for nonprofits, fundraisers, and one time, and for many years, I handle all the advertising and production for a thing called I think it's still going, Big Tractor Pull in Chapel Hill. And that the Chapel Hill Tractor Pull, Super Pull of the South, was sponsored one year by Exxon. And Exxon liked how their commercials sounded in my voice, and they wanted to contact my agent. Well, I didn't have an agent, but I found out I was going to have one. And since that time, I've and still do to some degree, still do commercials on a national basis, commercials and various things like voiceovers for museums. I love that work because I'm a history nut.
History buff, and so people will find you in other parts of the world, right?
People will find
at least your voice.
They will find my voice. I do. I'm with a particular chocolate company right now, and I handle their voiceover for European distribution. So that means they have to write the script in phonics.
Wow. So we're talking about your radio career, but you've had other careers as well. Tell us a little bit about the other roles that Tom Lawrence has had.
Well, started as a farmer, as everybody did. Had always wanted to be a teacher, and because teachers made a huge difference in my life. I've got several thousand books in my poor little house right now. I don't know what I'm going to do with, and blessed me with a love of reading, and that has helped me out along the way. My church has meant quite a bit to me. I'm a member of the Beech Grove Church of Christ, and I work quite a bit with the Chinese Church of Middle Tennessee, and that gave me the ability to take a year off in 2009, and lived in China for a while, lived and taught in China for a while, and I tell folks, best year of my life. But I was ready to come home.
You were ready to come home.
I was ready to come home.
You were ready to come home.
China taught me more than the Mandarin language. It taught me that people are no different. And I lived in Wuhan, China, home of the coronavirus. And I've been in those wet markets, and would go back in a heartbeat to visit. But this is home.
How many continents of the world, or how many countries do you think you've visited?
never Canada.
Australia,
Oh, love
Europe?
Australia. Yeah.
Asia.
Especially Italy and Switzerland. But no, I've run more frequent flyer miles getting from here to Australia and from here to China. Haven't been able to get into China for the past year, but I'm planning a trip there about this time next year, Lord willing.
Lord willing.
Yeah.
So, crazy question. What does retirement look like to you? Could it look like Avenida of Cool Springs?
It certainly could. At one point, I thought that I'd like to try that retirement thing on. I'm not made for it. So, as long as I'm upright, I'll be working some form or fashion. It may be milking cows, but I can do it. I've done it, and I can do it again.
Honest day's work, right?
Yeah, honest day, and it's work.
So let me ask you 2 questions about advice.
Yeah.
Who would you say was the biggest influence on you as a young man growing up in Franklin? And what piece of advice did he give you that you've passed along? Or that person give you that you've passed along?
The older I get, the more I realize it's my father. Red Lawrence was an electrician for Sewell Electric Company, where you could go into Sewell's and pick up the phone and call Nashville for free because they had a Nashville phone, and the line formed every day. But my mother was a kindergarten teacher. Loved her dearly. My father was like anybody else's father, hard-working man. And it wasn't until the experience of his passing that I learned exactly what he meant to me. And what everybody's father, same thing Loy Hardcastle meant to Loy Hardcastle Jr., same thing Mr. Bob Sewell meant to little Bob Sewell. And I didn't know how smart my daddy was until he was gone.
And you have a brother and a sister.
I have a brother and a sister. My brother has retired, but he's still training horses. My sister recently, I'm the only one still working. I'm the oldest in the bunch. But Mr. Ed Moody was, and Mr. Jim Hayes were 2 of my business mentors.
Certainly.
But when it come to personal things, my last words my father said to me are edged in my soul, into my psyche. And this was a day before he died. And pardon the language now, all right? Forgive me. I thought all you needed was a kick in the ass. All you needed was a pat on the back.
Wow.
And that still makes me cry to this day.
Wow, I'm gonna cry. I think that is some great advice.
And other thing that I totally remember is when you do your best, it's always good enough.
Wow, those are some great bits of advice,
Yep.
for sure. Life advice.
Now we're sitting here at 222 Mallory Station Road. Jim Hayes is at the Burwood Cemetery. Charles Debrell is at Williamson Memorial Gardens, and I have to thank those 2 men because they were as important to me as any college professor, any teacher. And I have other partners. One is here, and the others in Spring Hill, about 2 blocks from me.
So, you meet a lot of people coming to town in your role at WAKM and working now. You work with Landmark Bank.
Yeah.
As well. What advice do you tell people coming to Franklin today, or those that are new to the area?
That's easy. first of all, I listened to them and I asked them questions. Why did you come here? And being somebody who was actually born here at Dan German Hospital, and will have his ashes scattered here. Is that legal now?
Shh, don't tell anybody.
All right. But I asked them, why did you move here? Most of the time they say to be close to grandchildren. Said, do you enjoy living here? Says, oh, very much so. Why? It's so cheap. Where did you come from? Oh, I lived in Manhattan, or I lived in Laguna Beach, or I lived in Denver. Property taxes or they get upset about something, and then they complain about something they had in California or wherever that we don't have here. Now there's a reason we don't have these things, because most of us aren't willing to pay for them. Well, in California and those other places, they're willing to pay for them. Be very careful about what you want in playing political games, because what we have works. We move at a slower pace. I referred to a race problem a few minutes ago. It has taken 50 years of work, and we've got some more work to do on that. But we are the best place in this world to live. I can just about tell you that. Be grateful for what you have. Yes, be willing to change it as long as you're willing to pay for it. If you're willing to pay for it, fine. Let her rip. But until you're willing to pay for it, then be careful what you ask for.
So, any last thoughts as we sit here on the porch on the front porch, actually, of Avenida Cool Springs at 222 Mallory Station Road? Are you having any good stories you need to tell us? Were you here for the tornado, the Christmas Eve tornado?
Oh, yes. I was yes, I was right here. That was a Saturday morning. It was Christmas Eve, 1985. And I was coming across the railroad track when the tornado was coming right over where we're sitting right now. And it was raining so hard I couldn't see it, but I knew the radio station was off. The reason I was coming in so early was because we had a new girl on the board running things.
Is that Sherry?
No, it wasn't Sherry, bless her heart. Sherry has gone on too. Her name was Pamela Furr, and she is in Nashville radio now. I walked in the front door, and she handed me her resignation. Because she had seen the tornado come within 100 yards, and she wanted to go home, and I can't blame her.
All right, well, I sidetracked you. So as we sit here at 222 Mallory Station Road, any final thoughts, anything that you'd like to tell people as part of our Front Porch Conversation?
I feel the earth moving.
Wow.
I don't know a thing. I just feel the earth moving. Spring Hill, we're going to have a new mayor this year. We're going to have new leadership. We have people in positions of power. We have a county executive in his 70s. We have a Franklin City Mayor in his 70s, and I am concerned about the next generation of leadership. If we've got a great county mayor, the best we could have. We've got a great city mayor. And we've had several in a row. And look at Franklin. Look at Williamson County. But these people can't do this forever. And I just feel the earth moving, and I'm concerned about that.
It's a great way to put it, and a great way to end our conversation, because you're not running for anything, right?
Hell no.
Okay. That was fantastic. That was great. Well, thank you for being part of Front Porch Conversations. We really appreciate it.
I love being here on the third level front porch
at Avenida of Cool Springs. So this has been Front Porch Conversations. I'm Mindy Tate. We hope that you will subscribe to our YouTube channel and know more about what's going on with Front Porch Conversations, but also follow us on Facebook and other social media so you can stay in touch as we launch a new initiative called Civic Index in April of this year, and also our other programming. So thanks so much. We hope you go out and make it a great day, and we hope that you have a conversation with someone that you want to know more about on a front porch soon.